Hello, Internet. Welcome back to another episode of BBYK, part of the BSPN radio network and your go-to podcast for sports, entertainment, and philosophical musings like, was Eminem's recently released album Kamikaze terrible? To decide, let's listen to a clip.
You lack of the stamina while you're divorcing Harrison Ford and I'm in a Porsche and flowing ports while I'm on torrent. You using way too many napkins, papkins, lapkins and chapkins. You using chapstick and napkins while I'm papkin?
As a society, we do use too many napkins, philosophically speaking. And philosophically reflecting, I went to Subway the other day, and while I could still acquire my own plastic straw, I had to ask for a fork, and more weirdly, there was also no readily available napkins. And I was like, but I need more napkins though. You only gave me 2, but I only asked for a fork and I finished my meal, and you know what? I only needed 2 napkins. I was good. I could have taken more originally, but having lived through the experience, I'm okay, and lunch is over, and now I have to get back to the office. That's this album. We heard the apology album for this album will be much better. The guys have a good one for you as they break down a UFC 228 card that features many great fights, culminating in the title match for welterweight supremacy between Darren Till and Tyron Woodley. Here are your hosts, Viet, David, and Matt effing Alexander.
All right, and on that note, we're gonna get it started. It's been a while, Matt. Haven't seen you on the show in a while. Been busy. Really happy to have you back on Bros. Help us break down this UFC 228 card. We were talking a little bit before the show. Surprisingly stacked card. A lot of fun fights on here. A lot of fights that we're really excited and looking forward to. Matt, what have you been up to? Two Stripe? You ducking us? You used to call out David, and now you're ducking us? You became big time?
Ducking me, bro. It's like, nah, bro. I'm recovering from shoulder surgery. I promise.
You should stop training at AKA.
I know.
And you guys know David, BC Bridges. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. We got this card is going to be interesting for you because you got 2 guys on here, one of whom you've beaten, and then the other guy beat you. So must be mixed emotions when you break down that Sterling Stamann fight later on.
Exactly.
All right, let's we're just gonna get into it, and we're gonna start with the FX. A couple fights here I want to bring up, and it's 2 fights that are going to be in the bantamweight division, and they're both ranked fights. So these are both big fights for the division. You got the first one, Jimmy Rivera, John Dodson. Pretty exciting fight. David, why don't you give us a little quick breakdown of this matchup?
Definitely. So it's kind of interesting because both these guys have been on a pretty decent run until. Well, Jimmy Rivera had been on a decent run until he ran into the buzzsaw at his Marlon Moraes. And then John Dodson's last loss also happened to be to that same buzzsaw of Marlon Moraes. Both these guys with the win here could definitely put themselves back in the, that top-ranked contender position after the aforementioned Marlon Moraes. But as far as the actual matchup is concerned, John Dodson is John Dodson. We all know what he is. He relies on that speed. Used to have some pretty surprising power based on that speed. But over the past few fights of his, it seems like he's I don't know if it's slowed down is the right term, but I'm gonna say slowed down some. Has not been quite as effective, but he still kind of sticks to that same game plan. Dances around, throws a lot of shots, but doesn't quite have that same oomph that he used to. Jimmy, on the other hand, has been on a pretty good tear of late until he ran into Marlon Moraes.
On a pretty good terror.
Terror, yeah. Oh, well done. I see what you did there. So as far as this fight's concerned, I feel like Jimmy has I feel like the matchup plays to his strengths more than it does to Dodson's. His wrestling background, I think, can really give Dodson a lot of problems here. I'm not saying Dodson's bad in the wrestling, but Rivera's pretty dang good when it comes to that. And Dodson just doesn't have that that power to really make Jimmy pay for anything. So I see this going Jimmy's way, but it should be a lot of fun. Should be back and forth, and should be a good way to kick off some of that FX card or FS1 card. I'm not sure, I can't remember what it's on actually. FX card.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. I think Rivera just has a deeper toolkit, if you will, a lot more skills.
Yep.
Dotson's probably gonna have to catch him. He does have a knockout victory over the current champ, TJ Dillashaw, way back when TJ was making his debut. So a lot has changed for both fighters. Dodson actually went down, competed at Fly for a little bit. So yeah, it's an interesting fight. I think I agree with you, Dave. I wonder. I remember reading an article about, it was just kind of like the mindset of a fighter, and they were saying that people that smile at weigh-ins, like when they do face-offs, statistically lose more often than people that have like a serious face or like even like an aggressive face.
Right.
And John Dodson's like always smiling. I mean, that guy could have like the worst day and he's like, ah. So I'm wondering, maybe he just doesn't have like the mind. He's too nice of a guy. He's too happy all the time. Maybe you need a little bit of that
Killer instinct, or like I guess the theme for Darren Till, who we're gonna talk about later, just like feel like shit all the time, just hate your life, hate everyone around you. Maybe you need a little bit of that to really excel at this sport. Anything to add to that, Matt, for this matchup?
I agree, but I also think that Dodson has the ability to like drag the fight down, to like make other people look worse, like by fighting off his back foot and moving away. He might not land a lot of shots, but he'll make other people miss a lot as well. So I could see him also getting a decision victory, or a split decision victory, just based on that. But yeah, I do think Jimmy has the advantage.
You make a good point, Matt. And if that happens, it'll be a pretty ugly fight too. And yeah, but you're right. That is how Dodson would win.
I don't know. I feel like if it goes to decision, it was probably Rivera's style fight. But we do call him Brostradamus. Matt he knows these things.
These things.
This next matchup is pretty cool, and this should be up by the time you guys are checking out this podcast. So we did have an interview with one Cody Stamann. He likes to be called Spartan. Now you may see it changes. UFC like flips it on him. Sometimes they call him Mr. Wonderful. He wants to be known as Spartan. He comes from Sparta, Michigan. I told him that Phil Davis already had Mr. Wonderful, and I think fighters contractually they have to fight over nicknames, and I don't know if Cody wanted to make that jump up to 205.
It's a big weight disparity.
Well, the Spartan's taken too.
Yeah, that's right.
Elias.
Yeah, but he's the Canadian Spartan. He goes by Main Event now.
Yeah.
Right? He's got a branding. That guy's totally fine. He can give up any nickname. Yeah. he's killing it. This is killing it. This is a really good fight. I think it's a really big fight for these two guys. Now, for those of you that like to do MMA math, and we brought up earlier, we introduced David BC Bridges. You got Aljamain Sterling, who has a loss to BC, and then Cody Stamann, who has a victory over that same guy. Matt, I'm going to let you start off. How do you see this fight going?
I see it kind of similar to the previous bantamweight fight, is that you've got a veteran guy who has the ability to control the pace of the fight, and you've got an up-and-comer who's kind of good all around and might have a higher ceiling talent-wise. I don't know. Aljamain was really, he was in the title picture for a while before he dove into a knee. He also lost to BC by decision, but that was a pretty close fight. But he's always been right around. I wouldn't call him a gatekeeper. I'd say he's pretty up there in terms of talent. Cody Stamann is young. I mean, in terms of the UFC career, I don't know what to say. He's a very talented striker, and I don't think we've seen the best of him yet. But even without the best of him, I wouldn't bet against him to beat Sterling. I don't think he knocks him out necessarily, but he's got really great proficient striking and he looks really comfortable in all areas. So I see a lot coming from him, and I don't know how Sterling's training's going, but I don't know how much more he can improve his game.
Yeah. These two have been like in a little Twitter social media beef for a while. It's fake news, not necessarily fake news. I talked with Cody about it. It was a little bit of like baiting, and you got to kind of do that against the guys that are above you. Like, I feel like if you're in that top 10, it's really tough because you want that top 5 guy so that you can be next in line for a title shot. But you really don't want to fight another guy that's just like right behind you. It's a tough fight for you, and you don't. It's tough to gauge how much you really go up in the standings from that. I know, speaking with Cody, he really wants to push the pace, at least early on. He sees Aljamain as a slow starter, and he thinks that's if he just kind of pushes it a little bit, even if he doesn't win decisively in that. I mean, he's looking for the finish, but even if he doesn't win round 1 decisively, he thinks if he just has a quicker start, more output, he can maybe steal a round, and then kind of the fight will then start round 2. What do you think about this fight, David?
This is a very difficult fight to call, I believe, because it's like Matt was saying earlier. Aljamain's fought, kind of a who's who of the division, while Cody has come in like gangbusters. And I mean, Cody has knocked off some real talent. I mean, his UFC debut against Tyron Ware, hasn't won a whole lot of UFC fights, but he's the kind of guy that he's a good test for newcomers. Let's put it that way. Fights smart, fights tough, and if you beat him, you kind of deserve to stay in the UFC. And then obviously he beat Brian Caraway last time out, who like you said earlier, beat Sterling. Then he also knocked off Tom Duquesnoy, who was another kind of blue chip prospect. So he's coming with a lot of momentum behind him. And Aljamain is definitely his biggest test yet. But because it's like Matt was saying, Aljamain's coming in with a long tenured UFC career. He's fought a lot of guys. He's a smart, veteran fighter, which is actually kind of funny to say when it comes to Aljamain, because I still think of him as this young guy. But he's had a long UFC career, and he's a lot of tricks to the trade. I think I'd have to lean Cody here, just based on the momentum and I think the upside that's there. And like you were saying, Viet, Aljamain is a slow starter, relatively speaking. And Cody does not have that problem. Like, he can definitely come out there and lay the hurt on Aljamain there in the first round.
I think it's going to be a little tough for Aljamain. We're going to have to see something a little different from Aljo in this one, because the way he likes to fight, he's going to have a significant reach advantage over Cody, but it almost kind of plays into Cody's game the way he uses it. He's not really going to like stick and move and like really kind of. You're not really worried about Aljo's power so much in the division. And he's kind of like using that to kind of fill you out to set up takedowns of his own, and he really ultimately wants to turn it into a grappling match where he feels like he's got the strength and the size advantage over a lot of the guys in the division. Against Cody, that's going to present opportunities where you go into the clinch, and then you get into his area, like where there isn't the reach advantage. He can go in, he can do his damage short distance, and he's an excellent wrestler himself. So I think I'm with you, David. I'm gonna lean Cody on this one. What about you, Matt? You're gonna make it 3 for 3, or?
Yeah, I think I'm leaning Cody.
All right, and then at the top of the FX card, we got a pretty interesting fight for the women's 115 division. You got the first ever champion at that division.
Cookie Monster.
The Cookie Monster, Karolina Esparza, going against the talented grappler in Tatiana Suarez. David, going to start with you on this one. I mean, you got Suarez, very talented, undefeated. You think she's going to stay that way?
I think so. I mean, obviously, Karolina Esparza is also very talented. I mean, she was the first champion in this division. But there's something about Tatiana Suarez, her combination of grappling talent and just her size there for that weight class is really impressive, and it's a great combination. And I just feel like her strength and size would be too much for Carla to handle, especially because Carla's a little bit undersized for the division as well. So you have that dichotomy there. And then, like you mentioned earlier, her grappling is just world class. So I have a hard time seeing Carla coming out of this one with their hand raised.
Yeah, I think it's just a lever. In many ways, they both have the same strength.
Right.
Suarez is just like, she's going to be so significantly bigger when you see these two women in the cage. And that kind of goes with like every single fight Esparza is in. There's some of the ladies in that division are maybe like the same, like maybe not as tall, but like they're stacked. And she just doesn't have that kind of build. You know, we're going to be talking about Jessica Andrade here in a bit. But like, dude, she's big. She's strong.
Yoked.
She yoked. Not. Yeah. What about you, Matt? How are you seeing this fight go?
I think it's a really interesting grappling fight. It's not one where Carla can just lay on somebody the entire time. I do think Suarez is going to win. I think it's just going to be really good grappling exchanges, though. I'm not sure if it goes to a finish, but I mean, Suarez has had a lot of finishes. It's really good jiu-jitsu, but I think it'd probably go to decision, but have a lot of really interesting grappling exchanges.
Cool. All right, and then we're gonna get to let's get to the main card. Maybe it doesn't have the same star power. I don't really know who you would be looking for, but this is a fantastic main card in my opinion.
Yeah.
These are great. Let's just start with this first fight now. David, I know you're a fan of both of these guys. I know you're particularly excited about this fight kicking off the main card. I'm gonna let you. Can you pronounce this guy's name for me? Hit me up with some of that NPR level pronunciation.
Nicco Price.
Versus
Abdul Razak Al Hassan.
Abdul Razak Al Hassan.
This fight's gonna be gangbusters, man. This is gonna be. It's not gonna last long, but it's gonna be great. This is gonna be great, like 3.5 minutes of just war.
Yes, I agree. Let's just I think that, at least to me, and we're gonna be talking about Woodley Till for a bit. That's a very exciting fight. But in terms of like the different energy systems and how different fighters have different pace, I think this is a very similar to that title fight. Whereas you see Al Hassan, like just lots of energy, quick burst. The guy, he's actually like a judoku. That's like his background. He's a grappler. You wouldn't be able to tell if you've just watched the last few fights. He's just been going in there and destroying people, knocking people out left and right. I think it's, like David, you talk about how like there's these grapplers and then they go in and they need to start learning some striking, and it's the most fun stuff is to just go in there, start throwing haymakers, knocking people out. They kind of start falling in love with that style of fight and that power. Like the best example of this, Justin Gaethje, who actually has a very solid like grappling game, but you wouldn't know it if you ever watched one of his fights. It's the same thing with Al Hassan. He's got it. We haven't necessarily seen him use it, but this is a guy that likes to go out there. He kind of fell in love with the more violent, if not so technical aspects of the fight. He's going to go out there guns blazing. Nicco Price, we were talking about how Sterling was one of those guys that a little bit of a slow starter. Nicco Price, a little bit of slow starter. He likes to kind of feel things out. So I think it's going to be one of those like the race against the clock. How quickly can Abdul take this guy out? Because if it starts pushing later, Nicco Price, he's one of those guys where he can take a lot of damage and he improves as the fight goes on. Maybe he gets a little bit stronger, and then Al Hassan starts slowing down a bit. That's when Nicco Price can look to put on the damage, maybe steal some late rounds, maybe even go for a finish late. David, how do you see this fight going?
I mean, it's basically kind of like how you just said it. All of Al Hassan's victories have come in the first round. He pushes an insane pace right when the bell starts, but because of that, and he throws a lot of overhand right bombs. But if he doesn't get that finish in the first round, there's not much left there by the time it gets to the second. And Nicco, while also extremely violent, tends to pace himself better, and it kind of comes out in bursts as opposed to this continuous 4 minutes of just bomb, 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 bomb. So yeah, if it goes past the first round, this is definitely Nicco's fight, and he'll probably get a finish there in the second, maybe the third. But if Hassan lands one of those right hands, I mean, he puts holes in people that way. So it's a difficult fight to actually pick a winner, just because you have that variance of if this shot lands, it's over. Nicco is pretty hittable though, and while he's shown a great chin, that chin hasn't been tested by someone with Hassan's power. So I'm gonna pick Hassan here, first round knockout. But like I said earlier, if Nicco survives that, then it's Nicco's fight.
All right. And Matt, how are you feeling about it?
I'm drawing a blank here, but who did Robert Whittaker fight? Everyone's favorite first round finisher guy, who he finished, also recently lost to Jacare.
Recently.
He's on the.
You're not talking about Romero.
His skin is not on the light end of the spectrum.
Oh, Manawa?
I can't remember, but damn it, this sounds so dumb.
This is a recent fight by Whittaker?
No, it's a while ago.
Okay.
But
Let's see here.
it was just wild. It was wild and sloppy as hell.
Derek Brunson.
Derek Brunson charging chin first.
Yeah. Yep.
I see this fight going very similarly, but I think this one ends with probably Hassan knocking him out in the first, because he can throw. He does get tired, but 4 minutes of overhands is a lot of minutes and a lot of overhands. And Nicco is hittable, and I also don't think he can wrestle him or clinch him well enough to keep that distance management. I think he's gonna have to fight it out on the feet, and I don't think he's gonna win that way. At least not in the first round. So again, if it goes to the second round, I favor Price, but I don't think it's gonna get there.
It'll be this will be big. I think Hassan is definitely one of those guys I think the UFC would like to push, get a little buzz.
Right.
Nothing against Nicco Price, but I think maybe he's a little bit more of a finished product. So, obviously, very skilled martial artist. It could be that this may be a little bit more, more for Hassan to handle, going in, getting to be on a main card for a pay-per-view. It's a big step up for him. That was a big fight for both fighters. I just think, you know what Hassan's going to do. You got the blueprint on that. You would think Nicco's going to just be mindful of that. Dude, I mean, Matt, I get you. Like, ducking bombs for even just a round is very tough. But you got to think that the guy has a game plan for it. And if you can incorporate some feints, some level changes, takedown, just kind of get... There's a way to get Hassan to tire himself out. And then, like, at a certain point, it's going to be like, okay, green light. So I think as long as he's mindful that he fights safe, I actually see Nicco Price, but an Hassan first-round finish would be quite spectacular. And would be, man, the UFC loves guys like that. They want to push those guys.
That's why he's on the main card. This one of those fights that, if you bought that pay-per-view, right when you turn it on, you go, oh, I'm hooked. This is fun.
Right. And Hassan's, he's the sexy pick too. I mean, it's just that his style is like the fact that he's a grappler, but he's just going out there like knocking people out. Really, really cool. And a confident young man. So really excited for that one. This next fight it's also like a beast fight. Like this is a crazy good fight. The kind of fight that you might see main event for like a Fox card or like a one of those. But this is a second fight on the main card. You couldn't ask for a better fight. Jessica Andrade, Karolina Kowalkiewicz. I think this is just in terms of this is like a love letter to the fans type of style matchup, because you have two people that have the exact same sort of mindset. They're both They like to stalk their opponents. They're forward moving. They're gonna want to push the pace, meet in the middle, and then like immediately. They want to close the distance and then start trading shots in close. Both ladies like to fight like that. Both ladies have the exact same weakness. They're susceptible to counter striking. They get a little messy, less technical when they get into some flurries, and it gets them in trouble. Except they're going to be going against each other. It's going to be who can take advantage of the other person's mistake. But boys, is going to be fun. They're both going to like want to meet in the middle. They're going to just like, oops, bump into each other. It's like, all right, let's start going. You got KK who wants to get into that clinch range. You got Andrade who wants to get into that clinch range. JJ, she wants to get in that clinch range to employ her Muay Thai techniques. We saw that against the current champ, Rose Namajunas, to great effect. Really neutralized Rose and took her to town once they got in close, which I thought the opposite. I thought Rose would be able to dictate the pace there. KK was excellent there. Andrade, not the same. She wants to get in that clinch range and then work her wrestling. Get this to the ground, work her ground and pound, really put her weight and strength. Like David said earlier, she yoked. Like, don't get it twisted. This isn't Mackenzie Dern. She not thick. She yoked. She yoked.
That Brazilian horse meat, bro.
She got shoulders though, man. She's got shoulders.
Yeah.
She got those traps. It's like Bob Sapp. Maybe not quite Bob Sapp. Bob Sapp's traps are probably the size of Jessica Andrade.
Yeah.
Bob Sapp traps couldn't make the weight class. Couldn't make weight for this fight. All right, let's just get into it, Matt. I'm gonna start with you. How do you see this fight panning out for these two highly talented fighters?
I see a slugfest. I see Andrade trying to take it to the ground, but not having too much success. But it's kind of a coin flip as to who wins, because in a 5-round fight, I would think that KK could tire her out and then start picking her a little bit from range. But in a 3-round fight, I think Andrade has enough gas to keep that pressure, even with takedown attempts. She has enough gas to keep it. And then also, I'm not even sure Karolina is going to want to, play off that weakness and try to fight from range. I think she wants to be, standing in the pocket a little more. So it's kind of a coin toss. I'm going to lean KK, just because.
Just because. Okay. What about you, Dave?
I'm honestly, I think, more excited about this fight than I am the co-main, which is probably not a huge surprise based on the co-main matchup. But in this one, I mean, it's like you said, it's a very close fight style-wise. The matchmaking here is excellent. This should be fun. Andrade is just a physical beast, though, and maybe I'm giving too much credence just that physicality factor, but I think I'm leaning Andrade just to, bully basically Karolina in some of those close exchanges, and because it's like Matt said, because it's not 5 rounds, it's 3 rounds. Like, she can probably keep that pace up for 3 rounds. And just lay into Karolina that way, Karolina that way. Excuse me. But yeah, it's a tough one. But yeah, I think I'm leaning Andrade just for that factor.
I also think both of these ladies have a loss over the former queen pin of the division, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who has now lost twice to Rose, and that really sets up a very interesting kind of narrative. If KK wins, she has a victory over the current champ, which seems improbable. And I think KK, I just love her personality. She comes off like too sweet for the sport.
Speaking of smiling before fights.
Oh yeah, always. I find that Andrade's path back, like it's like you lose to JJ, and it's kind of like baptism by fire. For a while, it's everyone that was at the top of that division was just taking a loss to JJ. And I was just kind of like, all right, and then like, how do you recover from that? And I just find Andrade's path back to kind of like this title eliminator fight has been much more impressive. She has wins over Claudia Gadelha. She's got wins over Tesha Torres. Versus KK, who actually took a loss immediately after she lost to JJ. She lost to Gadelha. Like she recently has a fight over Felice Herrick, who was kind of making a comeback, but that was a good.
It was a split decision victory.
Yeah, and it was a good stylistic fight for her too.
Yeah.
Someone that was willing to kind of fight her style of fight. I love KK. It always surprised me. She seems very sloppy in a lot of areas in her fight, and yet she's consistently up there with like the elite fighters. There's, you want to talk about like those intangible factors, like tough grit, whatever, things that you can't really you can't measure. She must have that in spades because she's consistently up there, and she does well enough to merit being one of the top ladies in that division. But I think that like Andrade is like legit. Like she'll one of those fighters that maybe a little bit of that Benavidez syndrome. Few years ago against Mighty Mouse, where it's like I could beat everyone but one person.
Right.
I think it's like that, and I think a fight between Andrade and Rose would be really fun to see. Dave. I think you said Andrade.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna agree with you. I think I see Andrade here, and surely, as Matt pointed out, the 3 rounds benefits her versus the 5 rounds. So she's tough. She's tough to keep off of you, and it's. The way KK fights, it's gonna invite it. She's gonna want to fight. It's gonna be fun though. They're just gonna like go and bump heads. Like let's just get it. Let's just get it. All right. This next fight. First of all, congratulations to my man, Killer B. We will remember you for saving the card. You saved the card, man. Would have been canceled for Yair. Yair cannot help himself lately. I know you are extremely excited about this one, Matt. Mainly for Zabit. I'm gonna make you say his last name. But
Magomedsharipov.
Oh wow, way off.
Boom.
No, I'm just kidding. That was
Nailed it.
That was pretty good. Big ups to Killer B. It may be off or not if Woodley if Till doesn't make weight and Woodley doesn't want to take that fight against Usman. He already said he doesn't want to take that fight. So
right.
Very, very interesting. When I talked with Cody about it, he actually said that they were talking about how if Woodley didn't do that, the rumors were they might just cancel the card. So it was like, yeah,
really?
A lot of people would be out of a fight if Till doesn't make weight. So every fighter on this card is rooting for Till to make weight.
He's about to be the most hated man in the UFC, apparently.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Whether or not that's an issue, obviously he's a big boy. He has not been shy about talking about how he hates cutting, he hates dieting, he hates basically everything involved with being a combat sports athlete, except for the beating the shit out of your opponent aspect. He likes that just fine. We'll be getting to that momentarily. Great prospect here in Zabit Magomedsharipov. I don't know.
That's pretty good.
Magomedsharipov.
Close enough.
Close enough. And then, as we said earlier, Killer B, Brendan Davis stepping up to save the show. Originally, they were penciling in Yair Rodriguez here, but way to go, Brandon. All right, Matt, I'm gonna let you kick off this discussion because you're a huge Zabit fan. I know you're excited for Zabit. Are you excited for the fight? I mean, do you think Dave's gonna show out?
I think he's gonna get more highlight reel stuff because he always looks, he looks like fabulous. He's like dance move style, freaking striking, and he's got insane grappling ability, and just he has this kind of flow to it where he can link things together like not many people can. He's kind of got talent everywhere. I don't know. It's different than what we've seen. It's not traditional like boxing and wrestling. I don't know. It's just you see it and you're like, hey, there's something different about him. And then, the way that he gets at it, he's always pushing the pace and having fun with it. Yeah. So I also think just in terms of talent that he's got an advantage here. It should be good, but I definitely see him winning.
A little playful the way Darren Till is when he fights. Like there's not that drive to just say, or like kind of that overriding like sense of like, I need to get the victory now. I need to go in.
It's a little cat and mouse going on.
Little relaxed. There's a lot of confidence in this guy's game. I think, and that's not just like a mindset, like it's like, oh yeah, that guy's just like a naturally cocky guy. Yeah, he's cocky. He also has like gone to the gym and has probably like consistently beaten the crap out of people. Like he knows he's good. Generally has a decent size advantage. He's just big for that weight class. But it looks like his body type is just kind of perfect. Very slim but like lean, muscular. Just little. It seems a little unfair against some of the other guys there who just give up sometimes a massive reach advantage to the guy. But very excited about it. Very excited. UFC is pushing this guy. I'm with you, Matt. I'm a huge Zabit fan. I'm a huge fan. You're right. Unorthodox striking, chains things. It's great at grappling, but he won't necessarily even like take the most. Like he won't even take like the opportunities that are there. Like you could present certain things, and he'll kind of let them go. Maybe go for a setup that's a little bit different, and that makes him so unpredictable. You really don't know quite how he's gonna try to hit you, how he's gonna hit you with that level change. It's fun. How do you see this fight going, Dave?
I also agree with you all that Zabit is the GOAT. Dude's awesome. But there's part of me, I think you mentioned earlier that this was supposed to be, Zabit versus Yair. And part of me has this feeling that Brandon Davis is just going to come in and shock the world. We're all going to overlook him. Zabit's going to overlook him. And he's going to come in and just, derail a hype train. I don't think that's going to happen. I just have this feeling inside of me that's about to happen on Saturday.
That would be great.
But my head says Zabit for all the aforementioned reasons. The guy's just incredible. He's, just so unpredictable in his entire offense. The way he flows, his scrambling, his striking. It's just fun to watch.
If we wanted to do some more MMA math, we got a
Bachniak.
Kyle Crash Bachniak. He's got a victory over Killer B, but also lost a very game performance, I might add, by Bachniak. And you want to talk about how
he won some fans there.
That was
just
insane.
Looked big. Zabit just really looked so like he had such a massive size advantage. Bachniak was game. I mean, he was game. Zabit's just too much everywhere for Brandon Davis. I mean, maybe he comes in, he derails the hype train. I doubt it. I think Zabit's got this one. You need a guy that could excel in like some area. Davis just not that guy. He's not gonna like have that like kiss of death punch, knockout power, go in there and maybe do something, or like this incredible jiu-jitsu game and go in there and get the submission. I just think it's gonna be kind of tough. Gonna be tough for him, but he already won. He saved the card, so he's already won. Killer B's already won.
Unless they canceled the card.
Yeah. Unless they cancel the card, wouldn't that be something? But he's coming off a loss, and to he saved the card, but it's great for his career if he could just show out here against the guy that the UFC is really pushing, and we all know is a very talented fighter. Brandon could just go show up on Saturday and put on a competitive performance like Bachniak. Even in a loss, he can win fans and also prove to the UFC, hey, you know what, maybe you always hate to say this about like a guy's career, but not everyone is like a star. Not everyone's going to keep climbing that ladder. Eventually you hit the point where like you're probably at that level. You maybe get to like you're the 20 through 16 range. You're that guy. That's freaking good for the world, but you're probably never going to be a title contender. I just think maybe Brandon Davis is kind of like hitting that ceiling for himself. But if he shows out and is exciting, then he gets that bankability. UFC and this is a big, he's on the main card for a pay-per-view, so big opportunity for him. If he does what you say, that would be awesome. Huge. It'd be huge. All right,
I'm not putting money on it, but I'm just saying I have this feeling.
And this next fight, and I've been back and forth with Matt a lot on this one. I'm just really shocked. Matt is confident, 100% believes that the champ is gonna defend her belt here. He says, quote, Shevchenko doesn't have a chance. Shevchenko doesn't even have a chance. So go ahead, Matt.
She
tell
might
us,
as well not even show up. I mean, this girl is the GOAT.
Matt, you got like a backlight or something? You're looking like a ghost.
Oh, I look really dark. Oh my god, is it because I'm white? Racist. Racist. I'm front lit now. Hooray. Yeah, nobody really knows. I mean, she won tough, but yeah, no one watches that anymore. Spoiler alert.
It's not a spoiler alert. UFC knows.
And she's not good. She's not gonna get good by Saturday. She is going to get head kicked 38 times and might serve. Oh no, it's a 5-round fight. Yeah, she's definitely gonna get finished. Maybe not, but she's definitely gonna lose.
Valentina
and by
Shevchenko
that I mean the champ,
like...
not Karolina, not KK, because she's good and she's gonna win and she will be the
This
new.
is Shevchenko.
Shevchenko?
God damn it! I always conflate. I conflated those two the last time too. The bullet. I had it in my mind. I was like, wait, she's not the bullet. Bullet's Valentina Shevchenko. But similarly, she is going to head kick her face off and win the.
Shevchenko is she's like a video game character or something. Have you seen like all this stuff? Like she does like combat with like handguns, where they go through obstacle courses. Like it's like boom, like punch, beat the crap out of something, jump, barrel roll over it.
What was that movie with Christian Bale?
Equilibrium.
Oh, man, back in like the early 2000s.
Equilibrium.
Equilibrium. Yeah. That's basically what she does. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, she's a badass. She's crazy, and like you watch her open workouts. She's a freak, man. Like all the things she can do. She looks like the exorcism of Valentina Shevchenko out there. She's like moving her legs over her head and shit, and you're like, what the hell? This is crazy. Her resume is so impressive. I mean, she has victories. She has combat sport victories over Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She has victory in the UFC over Holly Holm. I mean, she is great. And if you ask certain people, maybe me included, she has at least one victory over Amanda Nunes. So,
yeah.
And she was saying she really didn't cut when she was fighting 135, and she never looked like I believe her. She was never a particularly big. I mean, she certainly did not look small for a division, and she wasn't bullied. But she's definitely not like one of the bigger ladies. And she said she basically fought on weight, and so now she's having to cut a little bit. But she's already shown that she can do it before. And the what do you call her last fight? The massacre. Let me see. Was it?
I think that's pretty kindly. The significant strikes or the strikes landed were 95-2.
What was that chick's name? Priscilla Cochera.
Cochera, yeah.
Cochera.
So I think the big question for this fight is does Nicco land more than 2 strikes?
Oh yeah. The question for this fight is Maru Yamasaki.
Yeah.
The ref for this fight.
Who's the ref?
Who's the ref? Because if I'm Montano and it's Yamasaki.
Yeah. Do hammer fists from bottom count as strikes?
So let's get creative. I mean, I think of all the fights on this entire card, actually, Matt, what do you think? What's the bigger who's the bigger underdog, Montano or Killer B?
It should be Montano, but I think they're gonna say it's Killer B because he's coming in off None notice, and because Zabit has such a big hype train following him. But honestly, Montano should be the bigger underdog.
You agree with that, Dave?
Yeah, I think Montano should be the bigger underdog.
Like I could see I could see Killer B like even not just having a lucky knockout. I could see him winning a round.
Yeah.
So according to, well, it kind of depends on where you go. Certain places have Nicco at plus 800. There's a plus 850. But the highest that Brandon Davis goes is plus 650.
You guys got what? Is there a path to victory for the champ, Dave?
No.
Matt?
Flying armbar.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it, right? She would have to use her grappling, which is her strength. Purple belt, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, you wonder what she can actually do against Valentina, because not only is she an excellent striker, she's great at like changing things. She's super fast. Got decent pop.
Good in the clinch.
Strong in the clinch, especially at this weight class. So it'd be tough. Nicco's gonna have to. She will have to fire her shots though. Like I would hate for the champ to go in there and fight like the last girl and just basically afraid of Valentina and slowly get mauled until the ref, mercifully steps in and says, "That's enough, champ. We're gonna call it."
That's the worst.
So I think she's gonna have to take her shots and be okay with the fight maybe taking a turn really quickly and ending. But she's got to fire her shot because this is just a slow beat down from the start. Right?
She can't be afraid to lose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She has to go for it.
She got to do the Rory McDonald. Go out the first round, rolling knee bar, and if that fails, go to Bellator.
Right, man. Rory about to fight Moose. That's a great fight. It's a great
Looking
fight.
forward to that one.
Yeah, Dave and I, we were talking about how, again, it's a champ versus champ, but if we're just looking for some of the more fun fights that you can do, we don't necessarily always want to look at our champs and kind of mash them together in these super fights. Sometimes a weight class is just too much to overcome for some fighters, even if they are pretty evenly matched skill-wise. But there are some guys that can kind of jump and they may not be at the top. And I think the UFC kind of unwittingly jumped on that with Nate Diaz and how he can kind of fluctuate welter and light, and then Conor jump in those weight classes. It's fun to see. It'll be fun to see McDonald jump up and fight. He was always a big guy, so I always thought he would be able to fight middleweight. But man, it's got to pain him. Looking back, he's like, damn, I effed Woodley up. This guy's been the champ for the last 4 years. I mean, it's like I had to. It was like as soon as I left the UFC to go make that money, Woodley. It was like the Woodley era. That's just crazy, yeah. But. I mean, I guess if he has anything to say, it's like Rory's like, "Yo, Woodley, I softened up Lawler for you, though."
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Really, you're welcome.
You're welcome. All right, so it looks like we're all so confident that Shevchenko will win. We're already talking about other fights, right. Not even fights on this card.
Other promotions.
We're talking about Bellator fights. For Nicco, I think, like I said, I want her to be aggressive, and she probably won't be able to hang striking. So I say, use your grappling, maybe try to take it to the ground, see if you can slap on a submission early on while Valentina's, like you're not all sweaty. It's pretty, it's a little bit easier, and just, try it. You might just get the crap beat out of you right then and there, but I think that's her path. Maybe just you got to wait for Valentina to not move. Maybe she's just like judging the distance, shoots a jab. Get in, clinch up, get that underhook, try to take it to the ground, try to slap on a submission, and then just risk Valentina controlling that exchange, maybe taking her to the ground, and then just finishing the fight right there with strikes. But you got to shoot your shot. You got to shoot your shot.
So you said, before Valentina gets all sweaty. Here's a question: does she get sweaty in this fight?
Yeah, probably. Come on. see. Will yeah.
Ouch.
Will Valentina break a sweat? I get you. And that's fair enough. Rest in peace, Montano.
It was good knowing you.
It was good knowing you. Will Shevchenko do to Khabib, like hold her down? It's like, I'm sorry, I must do this. It is my destiny.
He's like, you must give up. I must be champion.
I must be champion. Semi location. All right. The main event of the evening. Big fight. We got the champ, Tyron, the chosen one, Woodley, versus the up and coming fighter in Darren Till, the gorilla Darren Till. He's a massive guy. This guy's massive. I keep on seeing like all this stuff listed, and it says he's 6 foot, but he always seems to tower over those guys. So I don't know. I think he's actually bigger than that. He's like one of those guys where he's like, dude, I think you're bigger than your listed height and reach. But maybe they took that when he just started the sport, and he's still so young that it's possible he could have actually grown a little bit while he's been fighting. But man, he looked quite a bit bigger than Woodley at the weigh-ins. Now he also says part of that he postures up and Woodley kind of hunches over, and Woodley's not the tallest guy. Now he's like Andrade, got that powerhouse. He's not thick. He's got that yoked look. But we're just gonna get into it. I think you got two different narratives going on here, and it seems like, for the most part, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a lot of literature out there, a lot of breakdowns out there about this fight that start off with saying, man, is Woodley underrated? Man, do we underrate his IQ? Man, he has been such a great champ, the way he's been able to like deal with all these specialists and kind of deal with the puzzle, and he did the blueprint on how to beat Maya, and now everyone's like beating Maya. Like, we're just so underrating the champ. Darren Till's gonna win this fight. I feel like I've seen that like so much. Actually, yeah. It's like, why do we keep underrating the champ? Darren Till's gonna F him up. It's like, all right. So we got the number one, the president of the Tyron Woodley fan club, and Matt Two Strife Alexander here. This is your favorite fighter. This is your favorite fighter. How do you
You're
think?
right. I mean, I think Till is gonna just ruin Woodley, and by that I mean he's gonna miss weight. Woodley's not gonna take the fight with Usman, and then he'll be stripped of the belt and never have it again.
Ouch. Dang. Done. I don't think that the card will be done. I mean, Cody did say that. We'll see. I would imagine that if Usman if he's made weight. By the way, can we just talk about that for a little bit? The idea of having a reserve guy is it's kind of a cool thing about a UFC, right? Have just like a guy that like doesn't have a fight scheduled. That's just like, hey man, make weight, and we'll see. And it may be that he doesn't end up fighting one of these guys, but it's the UFC having a high level guy in their back pocket. You would think if Usman got bumped up, and man, I should have like maybe put some names up there. I don't really know who all has a fight, but I don't know.
It does make sense for the UFC to have that insurance policy, if you will.
Right.
But I think it would suck as the fighter if you got to cut and make weight and not really have a fight necessarily happening. I mean, the UFC would have to compensate them somehow just for that time and effort they put into making weight when the guy in the title fight doesn't make weight.
True. I think that that's something that you'd have to look in and invest. I think if you make weight, you should get show money.
Yeah,
definitely.
Especially if it's a support guy like who's filling in, they're not going to be getting paid as much as somebody who's a top contender. Even if you have somebody who's like when Al Yaquinta filled in, it's like he was like much lower ranked, so it's like they're not getting Connor to fill in every card. They don't need to like drop $1 million on somebody or multiple millions.
Right.
But the problem is finding somebody that is like that the person is willing to fight, because it's like, oh, we're going to have a different specialist in something else that you didn't prepare for, and you have a day notice to fight them.
Right. Well, I think there's also a lot more flexibility here. And they don't even necessarily have to pay him for it to fight. It could be that they write out a contract. It's like, Usman, be ready in case one of these guys drops 228. If not, we actually want to book you for this fight a month later at this one card against this guy who doesn't have a fight yet. And so that's built in the contract. If like Woodley and Till, they make weight and they fight, then we move you to this card. They always have the matchmakers can have contingency plans, but it's just kind of cool that you put yourself in a better situation to save cards potentially if last minute things happen or Conor decides to show up and fuck everything up, throw dollies at buses, and it's just like, I want to mess with everyone's shit. And before I get in there with Khabib, just you got to remember the Notorious. So I think it's really cool. I like it, and I'm wondering if there might be fighters that might specialize, kind of like a DH position, like in baseball. You just have guys that are like, oh, we just want money fights. Like a Nate Diaz could be a perpetual guy that's just kind of is sort of on weight and can save cards, but he doesn't necessarily want to fight anybody because he wants to be the main event guy. And Nate at this point is viewed as a main event guy. We don't know if he's going to be fighting Poirier. That's the idea, right?
Yeah,
supposedly.
It makes sense too for somebody like that, where it would be like, this person has a fairly straightforward style, and don't have to change your game plan too much, and somebody that's doesn't have a problem making weight. Because for some people, making a cut now and then being like, oh, you don't have a fight, but you have one in a month, that's actually worse for them. Tim Kennedy had that when he did it, and then he fought again a month later and he looked terrible in his last fight. I think it's because he was too big and he had to make 2 cuts in a row. Whereas some people, it's if you're not cutting much, it's not as hard on you. Or if you're younger.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's get to this fight. I think Darren Till, if you listen to him, and he's apparently just always moody because he hates cutting. He hates the training aspect. It's all really tough for a young man. He just really likes the fighting aspect of it, and I guess the lifestyle that comes with that. But I think this is a guy that's just he's a big star, and he can do no wrong. And I wonder if maybe fight fans have a little bit of Woodley fatigue. He has not been a very popular fighter. He has not been a very popular personality. His fighting style has not been very eye-pleasing. And I think we're just we got this young, trash-talking Brit, looks ginormous, kind of has this unusual fighting pattern. And I think it's not just the fans that kind of want Till. It sounds like the fight analysts and retired fighters or people that are now breaking down the game versus actually competing in the game. It seems like fighters appreciate Darren Till's approach more. They see it as more of your standard mixed martial artist trying to expand his game, add different elements, improve as a fighter, and then go in there and test himself against the best. They see Tyron Woodley as more he's gamed the system. It's more like a sport, any other sport, where you find the most efficient way to do that. He's kind of like the Maury ball, the money ball of fighting, right? He identified the things that work really well, and for him, it's that double leg blast or that overhand right. He has these 2 weapons. He's got great speed, and he can close the distance really fast. And he's just all right, these are my go-to weapons. And it's when you're playing UFC 3 or whatever, you just kind of put in attribute points. It's if you have an RPG and you can put in attribute points stacked up on these 2 things, and then the athletic meter or whatever, maxed out, speed maxed, power maxed, and I guess other fight analysts would argue to the detriment of the other parts of his game, where he could have a much more well-rounded game. We could see a much more dynamic Woodley in the octagon, but he just chooses not to. He chooses to kind of take this, some might say conservative, some might say safe, and many will say boring approach to fighting, but undeniably successful, and it's worked. So, David, we're going to kick it off. We're gonna let you kick it off. How do you see this fight
All
going?
right. I feel like the easy answer would be to say that this fight goes like Woodley's past several title defenses, where he does take that, safe route / smart route / efficient route to victory. Can Darren Till's length and aggressiveness cause Woodley problems? Maybe, but I mean, despite the large disparity in size based on the video and the two fighters standing next to each other, they actually have the same reach, and Wonder Boy's reach is longer than Till's reach, and granted, Woodley was probably 1-1 versus Wonder Boy, maybe 0-2 versus Wonder Boy. But Tyron has this ability, like you mentioned earlier, to find that path to victory, seemingly no matter what. He had he had a different style matchup at Maya. Wonder Boy presents his own unique issues, and Till presents his own unique issues. But Woodley somehow seems to find this way to win the fight. And he always has, like you mentioned, that power in his back pocket that he can break out whenever needed. So I think I'm leaning Woodley here, and I think what it really comes down to, I think, is that veteranness that Woodley has. Like, he knows how to win. Till had a very lackluster performance against Wonder Boy, and he kind of blasted up Donald Cerrone, whose chin is basically gone at this point. So,
all right,
champ camp all day.
Champ camp all day, Matt. What do you got?
I got champ camp. Till could use his power early on to make Woodley shell up, but I think Woodley's learned a lot from his losses where he did that, and if need be, he could clinch and make the rounds messier and win that way. I also think he's just very smart and good at controlling the cage and controlling the pace of the fight and where it wants to go. So I don't see it being that interesting of a fight, but I also don't think Till should have had this opportunity and basically lost to Wonder Boy and probably won't even make weight, so screw him. Also, I can't understand what he says on the mic.
And okay, are we concerned if he can make weight?
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a valid concern there. Am I, staying up at night worrying? No. This is a championship fight. This guy should be doing everything he can to make weight. So, if he doesn't, then I have serious concerns about his future in the UFC.
I'm not too worried about it. It does sound like perhaps he didn't take his dieting as seriously for the Wonder Boy fight. He said he was carrying a much higher body fat percentage, and he's I think a good 10 to 15 pounds lower going into fight week against Woodley than he was against Thompson. And it's not like he has a history of missing weight. So and he's still young. So it's like, man, if this is an issue now, maybe we do have to make that middleweight jump a little bit sooner than you would have anticipated. But how does the UFC love all of these guys that before they even win the belt are already talking about vacating and moving divisions? It was Till's oh man, I don't really want to fight at welterweight anymore. The weight cut is a little bit much. I'm going to move to middleweight. It's bro, you're just about to fight for the welterweight belt.
Although a Whitaker-Till fight, I had to watch the crap out of that.
Yeah, like a champ versus champ, one of those super fight things. I mean, he's already got a booked fight with. Well, is it booked? He's going to be on Tough with Gastelum. I would assume that's going to be the fight.
Yeah,
that would be doing Gastelum real dirty to be nah, we're going to let Darren Till jump up and make his debut in the weight class.
please don't do that, because I love Gastelum.
No, Gastelum.
He's one of the good guys in the sport.
Dude's a beast. Love Gastelum. All right. Everything you guys said, I agree with. Woodley's got a ton of experience. I think one of the things, I forgot who said it, but Woodley has a lot of stuff going on in his life between movie deals, the different things that he's doing. He's really involved in his community. Just a lot of different programs, and he's used to kind of being busy. And Woodley's he's gonna be one of those guys. He has that Dominic Cruz sort of. It's a personality that just great people. Even if he said the right things, which he doesn't always say. He's not like a fan-friendly fighter, and he's not gonna say things that like make you go, oh man, we like you now, we appreciate you now. He's just that guy. He's just that guy. Darren Till, for a life of it, he keeps on saying like the most unpopular stuff, but I think he's just got that push right now. What do you say? He was like, oh yeah, I don't really care about like going to see my pregnant girlfriend or whatever. Obviously
deadbeat dad.
Yeah, he clarified, but still, it's one of those things where Darren Till can kind of say that, and it's like, all right. I mean, people are a little bit upset, but like whatever. It's like awesome. Like now go beat Woodley. If Woodley said anything like that, we'd be like, screw this guy.
Yeah.
But he's he's kind of like the opposite. If you watch his champ camp videos, most of them like feature his son. Like he's taking them there. He's training with them. It's like one of those. He's like, okay, he's like a good dad, attentive dad, loving dad. Seems to be a good member of his community. Goes and does a lot for his community. And just hated, just hated by fans. I think it's a little bit more. You can kind of pinpoint a little bit easier than like with Daniel Cormier, where also a guy that seems to check a lot of boxes of like why isn't this guy popular? Like why does he receive a lot of hate? I think with Woodley it's a little bit more transparent. He's just that kind of guy. All that being said, I think all things must come to an end. I think that for Woodley, I think this may be the end of an era for him.
So he's underrated, but Till's going to kill him.
Oh yeah, no. That was the theme going in. I was going to say that. That was the theme. I have to do
that. Nice.
Woodley is so underrated. Till's gonna win. I think Till presents a lot of interesting challenges for the champ, and I'm wondering if he, in preparation for this fight, maybe looked up one Rory McDonald's fight with Woodley and kind of look at some of the ways you can deal with Woodley, who likes to fight with his back against the cage, how you can corral him with head kicks. He's always going to block similar way, he's going to protect his head, sweep with the opposite hand, and we saw him injure his shoulder in the last fight. He has had surgeries, rehab, he should be fine, but he hasn't been the most active guy, and Darren Till just fought this February. He's younger, he's been more active, and Woodley's going to be, what is he, like 36? So I think you just kind of start losing a step, and just the style, the way that he fights, it's not going to be as much of a problem for Darren Till. I think he can deal with a lot of it. He's got a sick wizard game. His takedown defense is pretty good, and he's just like a really big guy, and I think that between him and Woodley, I think it's going to tire out Woodley more. What's up, Matt? What is that? What was that?
Nothing. I'm totally not trying to play video games.
He's like you suck, Fiat. Shut up. Wrap it up.
So checked out this podcast.
He checked out of his own podcast. That's crazy.
Out.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Even talking about Tyron Woodley, he goes to sleep.
he just can't deal with it. It's too boring of a fighter. Yeah, I think I like the stuff that Till can bring, and it's more of a feeling. I think if you look at the odd makers, more than a feeling. If you look at the odd makers, depending on who you go with, you can either get a good number for Woodley or a good number for Till. So if you are a betting person, do not think that one person is favored in this fight over the other. Depending on who you check with, you can probably get your man on the over. So I would shop around if you are a betting person. David will be hooking you guys. I don't want to jump the gun, but maybe be on the lookout for something from David.
Oh, yeah.
For this.
Also,
for this
if the outro music to this podcast isn't More Than a Feeling by Boston, I'm going to be very disappointed.
And it starts right here. All right,
here
we go. Nice. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. All right. I think that about wraps it up. I'm really excited about this fight, even if it is your typical boring Woodley fight. I think that there will be very interesting things, especially since, as David, I think you pointed out, this is not for the casual. This is not a card for the casual. This is a love letter for the fight fans. We got a lot of high level matches on this card. I'm very excited about a lot of them, and I think that even if Woodley Till is not the exciting fireworks show that I don't know why anybody would expect to happen, there could be a lot that we see there. It would be very telling to see how Till defends against Woodley's takedowns, and also how much Woodley is going to use that as, he uses that a lot just as a ploy for his right hand. It's like he's landed astonishingly few takedowns and then into control position in his duration in the UFC. Even though he started off, it was almost like he was like a submission specialist. He kind of started off his UFC career like submitting people left and right, and then incorporated that power. Now he's kind of more known for that. But I think if it goes to the ground, he could also look to submitting Darren Till, variety of different chokes and stuff. This dude's he's just like Bill's like locked in. Once he gets in, it's like really hard to shake loose. I just think that it's probably going to tire out Woodley a little bit more chasing those takedowns than it's going to tire out Till to defend it. And if he's as big as it looks like, he's going to have that much of a size advantage, I think it's going to wear on Woodley. And, I know Woodley has kind of dealt with some of those concerns against some of the other fighters. We see that like he can still bring it even in the late rounds, maybe not like consistently, but in bursts, and has a little bit of that Yoel Romero Whitaker where it's
the quick twitch.
You can destroy him, and then like he can still get you. He can still get you. So I think there will be that. Like even if you didn't like his, we go back and we're like, yeah, objectively from the numbers, statistically, his fights with Wonder Boy were not spectacular, but I remember watching it, and I was like still kind of like edge of your seat. Like at any point, like Wonder Boy could have ended that, Darren Till, he's going to have to be focused and stick to his game plan. I think he's going to have to be aggressive. Woodley's going to welcome that in and just be kind of mindful. I think like his playfulness will actually work well for him. It kind of has like this weird confidence. I think sometimes that kind of plays little mind games on another opponent, especially if, as I'm predicting, Woodley's game might not go according to plan, at least early on. I think Till's going to pose some interesting athletic and size problems for Woodley, at least initially. Woodley's really good at solving those puzzles, but Till's got a path to victory here. I'd like to see him incorporate a lot of those kicks, really wear on those shoulders, really just attack that right side. Try to take down, you're like, man, you got like two weapons, I'm going to take away one of them. And the way a lot of fighters were able to kind of take away Hendo's power later on in his career, fight in a certain way, just like, hey, that's really, you're setting everything up for that and game that. The way Tyron Woodley games the system by really emphasizing those two elements, you can kind of like take away that strength of his by sort of de-emphasizing the effectiveness of those techniques by game planning it and also attacking that side, attacking that arm, really taking away a little bit of that power. And we'll also see if Darren can take one of those shots and kind of walk through it. That will change the fight quite a bit, I think.
Yeah.
So I do see this for Till. I think it's going to be #and new, and then he's going to drop the belt. Say I'm going to middleweight, and then Kobe Covington will come out and be declared the new champion of the welterweight division.
What a goat!
And then he will drop the belt and say he's going to take on the winner of Khabib. Connor.
He's like, I want that money fight. No one likes you. Go away.
Yeah. I tweeted out. It was like an infographic of it was with the UFC on Fox card, and they were talking about like their pound for pound best fighters right now. And this was after the Cody TJ fight, and TJ I think was like number 2, and George St. Pierre was on there at number 5. In the light heavyweight division. I mean, not the light heavyweight, in the lightweight division. It's like, huh.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Interesting, my dudes. Huh.
My dudes.
My dudes. Since when? So you're a lightweight now. As Nate Diaz, I see you're a lightweight now. That would be a huge money fight. Like, either way, that'd be fun. And obviously, that's the big fight Khabib Conor. We're going to be breaking that down here at Bros Bros. Again, you guys will want to stay tuned. We should have that Cody Stamann interview up on the site, so you want to check that out. He's got some really cool insights on the fight game and some of the weird stuff Aljo, I guess, is behind the scenes been like sending him, and just like weird stuff. We kind of get into that, of how weird and personal some of the trash talking can get behind the scenes in the UFC. So you want to check that out. And then also later on the week, you will have a DFS breakdown by David BC Bridges. You're going to want to check that out. And then also, Matt, the fans want to know, when are we going to get another Rattling the Cage?
Not sure. All I know is that Guacamelee 2 is out, and it's amazing, and that Spider-Man is coming out Friday for PS4, and it's going to be boss.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited for that. That game's gotten a lot of buzz, a lot of hype.
You gonna write a review, Matt?
I think so.
All right.
Tight.
So you might have that to look forward to on the site. We might start having some video game centric podcasts as well in the future. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. David's itching to talk about Red Dead.
Oh yeah.
When is it for sure coming out now?
Yeah. October.
October. You got the pre-order?
I can't remember the exact date, but yeah. Oh yeah.
he's had that pre-order when it was like announced like beta 2 years ago. Yes. It was like, yeah, where can I pre-order? Please have my money. I want it day one.
Take it all.
Shut up and take my money.
All right, guys. I think, starting to meander here. Thanks for staying with us to the end. Always check out our stuff, brosbros.com. You can follow us on Twitter at brosbros. You can follow me at FaceTheFacts22. You could follow David at David L. Bridges. And you can no longer follow our dear friend Matt here. He has quit Twitter. You guys did not deserve him. He was too beautiful. He was too beautiful for that world. Maybe we can talk
burn fast, burn bright.
Maybe we can talk maybe we can talk about that retirement. We'll see. Maybe it might be like there'll be like a Phoenix Rises. His Twitter account like comes back to life, and he releases a brand new Rattling the Cage. It'll be from the ashes.
Oh, that'd be so beautiful.
So beautiful. We're putting the peer pressure on you, Matt. I'm expecting this to happen now. We got the Conor Khabib. I mean, you have got to have stuff for that.
Oh my gosh.
All right,
amazing.
Guys, I want to thank you again for doing this with me, and till next time, we are the Bros Bros. You know. All right, guys.